Good. Yeah. See? Okay.
Yo.
Yo. How you doing, darling?
Oh, fine. Fine.
Okay.
Me and Big Sis can be working together.
Okay. Sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
Got the crystal.
Good. So, first of all, let's get any questions you might have for me out the way.
Okay. In that case, I'll need the use of your eyes. Okay.
No guests tonight?
Okay. I'm going to show you a couple of pictures here.
Was it naked ladies?
Don't you see enough ladies maybe from your lifetime?
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, there's one up on me, dude. She's gonna be back tomorrow.
Cool. Okay, two things. Alright, first is called a healing rod, or power rod,
Mm-hmm.
for all practical purposes. The finished product here.
Yeah, it's better to have it this way up. Now, what's this?
That is the process of making it.
No, this part.
Same thing as this, only with two crystals instead of a cap.
Okay, but this is all bound up together.
Right.
So,
in other words, this would be with one crystal and a cap, with leather thongs.
So this is a crystal here, right?
No, that's a copper tube.
Copper tube, okay.
What's it say here? Quartz crystal, copper pipe.
Which one's that?
Copper, that's the tube here.
Okay.
B would be the copper tube,
Mm-hmm.
A would be the crystal, D would be the cap, C would be the wrapping of it.
Okay.
And this is the final, what it looks like when you get done.
Okay.
Okay. Number 2, this is the finished product. This is how it goes together. Leather strap, silver disc, and a crystal. Okay. This is the finished product.
Mm-hmm.
That is a crystal headband.
For what function?
Wrap around your head.
To do what?
To enhance psychic communication.
Telepathy.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Now then. According to the book, the power rod operates on the principle that subatomic particles are gathered within the copper tube, and thought process pushes them out through the crystal into a controlled being. It's called what's called a psionic projector.
Okay.
Your thoughts on the engineering of such a thing, being as there are no moving parts?
The engineering, very simple, very primitive, very useful.
How so?
How so?
Well, the first two I understand. Third part.
Very useful.
Does it work the way it says it does?
It depends on what sort of crystal you're going to use.
Okay, let's start with that.
Okay, if you use an energy crystal, it's good for energy supply and direction. Mm-hmm. If you use a far-sighted crystal, one that hasn't been shaped to the perfect shape, which is more this shape, right, you can use it as a directional beacon to fire, and then you ride down the beam. Mm-hmm. Okay? But you have to be quick, you have to be able to point it in the direction, fire, go into the astral travel mode like in 5 seconds, and chase after it, which you expend a lot of energy to catch up with it. But once you catch up with it, you hold on to it until it burns up its energy. Mm-hmm. And then by that time you should have recovered enough to use your own energy.
So it's like a booster rocket.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Another thing that you could do is use it as a healing crystal. Put a healing crystal in there and direct the energy from the healing crystal.
Okay, so 3 very obvious ways to possibly use this.
And the same with manifesting. If you remember, when we had zapping things using big energy crystal there, was it the big energy crystal where
True, yes.
yeah, had you feedback by accident, told you not to follow it too tightly?
Right.
You could use it for manifestation with a manifesting crystal. Can't use it with a information crystal because you drain the information. If you were to do it with gold, it would have a higher resonance.
Well, I lost the chapter in this book that tells why the subatomic particles are captured in the first place in the copper tube. I assume this is just basic cosmic rays that we're talking about here. Why would they be captured in the copper tube?
Because the crystals hold them in place. They will drift out the sides, but as they travel linear, you see, as long as you keep it pointing north, right, they'll travel backwards and forwards, bouncing from one to the other, from one crystal to the other crystal.
What if you just put a copper cap at the end, like the one that it describes?
Well, any cosmic rays that are coming in from the direction that you're holding them, let's say you're holding it this way and they come in from the bottom, right, would be focused down into... In a way you could say that they're captured, that they bounce backwards and forwards, but they wouldn't because crystals wouldn't hold them in place. It would just be drifting through and being focused down by the point of the crystal.
Very good, darling. Now, I assume that the use of this, as far as how good it is, depends on how good the sender is.
Correct.
Okay. And how controlled and focused it is. So this would be more potent than just a regular crystal by itself.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's described as Atlantean technology. I'll go with that just because I don't have a better term for it.
Okay. And you know that I can't confirm all the time.
And I'm not going to get you into trouble. Now,
especially not tonight.
In regards to the crystal headband, same principle applies, except for the fact there's no copper tube to capture anything. Why would the silver disc next to your third eye, in front or behind a crystal?
Silver disc, I don't know why. Just a regular crystal would work fine on its own. Silver disc, maybe for looks, maybe for reflecting energy from the crystal.
What about a copper disc?
No, it needs to be a clear surface in this case if it's been used as a reflector to focus on the crystal.
So what would you suggest is best? Just a plain crystal?
Plain crystal on its own. If you want for looks and using it like a radio dish.
Okay. Now, in keeping a crystal next to your body, you can generally able to work with amplifying your own energy field. So this would work in the same fact of the fact that you now have it next to your third eye. It's amplifying those third eye emanations.
Well, that's what that crystal is. Mark's other crystal. The one that is cleaning or powering up and clearing.
Okay. Alright. What about being able to communicate on a worldwide level with a crystal headband?
You'd have to communicate with people similarly armed, or with people that are of a higher level and are more sensitive.
Okay. Now, the last question I have for you, my dear, is with the power rod, if you were to focus it toward a color TV, with a live broadcast of something somewhere.
No, that wouldn't work. Focusing on somebody like your president to energizing that, because that is being received, not transmitted.
Okay, well, according to the book, I'll put it this way. It says particles ride down the carrier wave, the microwave radiation and UHF waves, and that way you can send the particles down that feed up to the satellite and back down.
And the person that's there receiving or filming or picking up the sound from it gets a nasty buzzing sensation in his ears and confusion.
So wherever the camera's pointed would not necessarily affect.
No, not necessarily, because you see, what happens is you're taking the picture, right? Comes into the camera,
Right.
goes through all the computer and all the internal mechanism, sent to the transmitter. At that point, it becomes a VHF, UHF,
Sent up to the satellite then.
TNT, whatever, that comes at frequency.
Right.
Yeah, well, started me off on that last week. This is ESPN nonsense.
Okay, because I was going to try it tomorrow with the O.J. Simpson trial, see if I can get someone to scratch their nose.
In a hot, stuffy room with lots of smelly people that are sweating, I think it'd be pretty easy to get somebody to scratch their nose right there.
That's why it'd be fun to try.
Get OJ. Orange juice.
Alright, well if it works, you'll be the first one to know, because Karra will tell you.
Yeah.
Okay, well that was my last question, I promised, and I'm going to hold to that promise.
You can get away with it with me, but not with Omal. Okay. Just in case. And then when that's finished, we're picking up again.
Okay.
Go again for a mind link.
Okay.
Fuzzy around the edges being pulled, but apart from that, it's a good link.
Hold on. You're cute and beautiful at the same time.
Thank
I don't know how you do it.
What surprised me about tonight was that Tia was feeding the cubs and she wasn't participating. Do you know you beat me, Bear Brain?
Yeah, well, tough questions.
Okay. Big healing crystal, please.
Alright. Oh, darling, is it broken?
Well, I can't tell without actually getting in closer because, the monitor just gives the energy and the auras and everything. So we're going to have to probably get in and feel it. Ooh. Now, I've got to get this relayed to Kiri. Kiri has more feel, so there's going to be a little bit of a time delay. Now, nobody's told me what he did.
Keep this chair here in front of me.
What did he do that for?
Pay attention, guys.
Yeah. Kiri's whispering something about communication devices being needed to be answered. Well, it's definitely swollen. Nice shade of colour. I think it might be advisable to get one of your earth doctors to bind it up.
He's going to do that in lunch tomorrow.
I wouldn't say that it's broken, it's more compressed. I'm not getting closer, I can't really see that.
I think he just did it to practice our healing techniques.
Somebody else probably did it for him. No, I should say it's more compressed. Well, it's possible break, it's hard to tell on the monitor. Possible. Okay, let's see what we can do for it. Right, Dr. Russell. Okay. Now, I'm not going to direct you, I'm going to see if, and I want you to tell me out loud what you're going to do.
First off, I'm going to go ahead and direct the laser scalpel in to the broken area. But while I'm doing that, I'm going to be directing energy into it and pulling energy up from the main healing crystal to connect where I'm at in this energy to work on that place from two directions at once.
Okay, that sounds good.
Thank you. No, I'm coming from you.
Yes, it is a little amusing. Okay, go ahead. Sounds like the natives are restless tonight. No, the natives. Beating their drums out there. Doesn't sound like coming through his voice, does it? Okay. You've been trying to make your own energy focusing stand, haven't you?
Of course.
Like the one we've got in our apartment.
Have you been the only one around?
Take out that crystal and put this one. And sound it. And then put your hands either side like this. Feel the energy. Much more potent energy, isn't it?
I'll refrain from using profanity at this point.
I think you came very close to it.
Well, yes, it did actually. One more time.
Now hit it harder. So it goes on a lot longer if you hit it harder. A lot more potent energy-wise. That's the one that you should have in there, not the energy crystal.
Oh! Good.
Feeling a little bit giddy, are we?
Right back to the old jawbone there. Pop my ears.
Okay, now do you have questions for me?
Well, first off, is he going to have to take this in to get it working?
Might be advisable.
Right, so...
It's more of a compression than a break.
Why does it do that?
Does that feel a little bit better? I'm not going to take all of it away because it's a reminder on how potent the energy is. It's a sympathetic vibration.
Why does it work on your head like that?
Because of the cavities. How many times have I got to tell you about the cavities, dear?
No, I think having between my ears.
You're too hard on yourself sometimes.
Sometimes I have to be so I can keep myself in focus and not get too overheaded.
Focus, dude. God!
Alright.
Coolness. Ride the wave. Carol.
I could. I miss it. Okay, my dear. Now then.
Don't you enjoy it when we do that?
Of course.
Yeah.
How can you?
Get two people in the same time in this body? We don't. Just covered up in the energy field up here.
Oh, cute. I want to put a disc of that.
Pity you can't give smells as well.
Okay, how can you help differentiate the fact that a great healer can also be a great warrior?
Opposites and equals. The yang and the yin.
Well, it seems like though it's a what's the word? They don't. It's not supposed to work that way.
But it does.
Okay. Because it would seem like being able to fight is the opposite of being able to heal.
Mm-hmm.
And so it would seem like one would stop the other. It's like you either have to be one or the other.
Sometimes there's a dysfunction that it's like some doctors on your planet. They love surgery and they like the sight of blood. It's the same with some healers. They love their job, and sometimes they feel out of place when they haven't got anything to do. So they go out and make their own healing capabilities, or healing work. Like someone else I know.
Okay, so for myself, would it be advisable to also learn more things that would help protect myself and others?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What is... Let me put it this way. Supposing we... How many is there? There'll be 1, 3, 4, 5... Supposing our little family, all 7 of us, came down here, right?
Right.
And we got in a situation where there was a riot. And what's important? To defend the children.
Yeah.
But what use would you be if you don't know how to defend? It's no good going in there with all that aggression to beat hell out of people to defend us if you don't know how to use it. That's why I joined up. That's why I was a soldier. Although admittedly a medic.
Well, I wouldn't want arm wrestling.
You'd beat me.
No way. It's not.
It's all in the risks you did.
Well, no, and that's where you started when you got longer arms than I do.
Evolution.
Indeed.
Evolution.
Okay. Now, one thing is, I was discussing with Kiri the particle rod, or the power rod thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you had 2, one for healing and one for energy, you could effectively, take one with you where you need to go and use that as a...
Yeah, make a small one.
Right.
Good idea, dude.
Dude, Ed.
Let's say, get the gender right, otherwise she's going to come down there and belt you one of these days. Or when you come up here, she's going to break things with you.
Just so she can put them together.
I'd have to put them back together.
Okay. Now then, I'd like to discuss a little about radiation.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not talking about the radiation that is harmful to you, but the radiation that is given off by each living person.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we call it life force.
Yeah.
Okay. And being able to determine that life force.
You may want to bring that up higher again.
Okay. And being sensitive enough to be able to train to feel the life force for that radiation.
Mm-hmm.
So that you can interact with others and know how to use the right kind of radiation in working with.
Well, when people give off energies concerning their moods.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, sweetie pie. Take care of me, don't you? Unfortunately, it's not me.
Close enough.
Mm-hmm. Oh, by the way, we've got usage of the pyramid when we need it. Where are you going? Not this week. Okay, I'll have to be next week.
Okay.
Okay, where was I? Oh, yes. Now, when people are giving off negative energy, negative radiation when they're in a mood,
Right.
you can feel it, and you know how to interact to change that mood. Do you not?
Yeah, right.
When somebody's giving off depressed energy, that they are feeling down, miserable, again, you can interact with that. And the same with happy energy, and aggressive energy, and uninterested energy. I'm just saying energy is a catch-all.
Right.
So that you know how to interact.
Okay.
QED.
Absolutely. Good. And then that way you can be able to work with it in whatever way you need. And using the power rod, as I was mentioning, you are affecting that radiation being given off by that person.
So, sorry, yes.
Yeah, right. Okay, good.
I had somebody's finger in my ear.
Sounds like fun.
Yes, really, it's not anywhere else anyway, just got to hate so.
A lovely birth, by the way.
I thought so.
That's so cute.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
When she has more, it'd be easier for her.
Well, one thing I've noticed is that I have a connection to Miranda. It's closer to yours than it is to Alana's.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Because it's your first daughter.
Yeah, but I don't have that with Michael and David.
But they're not daughters.
You still think very third dimensionally about daughters.
Being female, being more sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably just a hangover from being in third dimension.
Yeah. Don't worry too much about it.
Okay.
It's good. Actually, it's not only third dimension. It's 6 too.
It's 6, okay. Wow, I don't think that.
So I've got to confess that Dad sometimes spoils me a little bit. I'm this little girl, even though I'm about an inch taller than he is, still is a little girl.
That's understandable.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yes, last night with the fireworks, in other words, I was seeing more of Miranda's mind than I was yours almost.
So she's an inquisitive little individual.
Right, and that's what amazed me so much was the fact that
Well, it's all new to her. You remember how our terrible twosome were so interested in everything their first 48 hours out of the room. And then they dropped off, didn't they?
Right.
As they started to learn how to manipulate and control their various bodily movements and functions to maximum effect. Miranda will do the same.
I think she'll do a little bit longer than 48 hours. So.
Maybe.
Okay, and the last question I've got is dealing with the LS device coming up and working with that to increase my healing capabilities. We need to work on tape at some point.
Okay, no problem. No problem at all. We'll do that the same night. We'll do an astral travel one on one side, and on the other side a healing one.
Alright, perfect.
30-minute text not advisable.
Should go something around. Okay, great. Thank you, darling. If I can, I'll try to get up there. I've got a late night today.
Yes, I know. I'll be watching.
Okay, if I do, I'll probably catch you when you're sleeping. Surprised you got it.
I'll be asleep in bed.
Pretending to sleep without. Okay, well, I'll pretend to wake you up.
I think I might build a pyramid over the bed. I have to probably sleep in another room once I get it all worked out. Never mind, let me work on it.
Alright, fair enough. Have fun.
Me too, dude.
Okay, darling. Yeah.
Great.
How you doing?
Fine, fine.
Good.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to put myself on last for information sources.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Because I think you're going to enjoy tonight.
Oh, good.
See
I'll do my best.
Cheers. Good evening, Russell.
No. I take it. No.
Let us proceed. Okay, I have some questions for you.
Alright, fire away.
How do you see your capabilities involved in your modern society of your dimension?
I see them as a extension of Ashtar Command, actually. As my abilities get more refined, as also with Mark's, I see the interaction that I have with my fellow humans helping to increase that consciousness around me, and hopefully it'll spread out exponentially from there.
And how does this interact with Ashtar Command?
Well, due to the fact that the training I'm getting is directly from Ashtar Command, I'm basically working from that base of knowledge. And so anything that I work on from here on out will be an extension of that.
Okay. How would you personally best use healing capability that you have? What function would you prefer to use it for?
Actually, two ways when you think about it. I'd probably say the first part in training and teaching, trying to help others learn what I've learned and let them take it from there and let them spread the word also. And another way in my personal healing, working with people who come to me who want to be healed, so that when they're healed, it'll be because they know I'm using my own energies and other tools around me instead of having to go to a doctor. And I think that'll help out their mindset and those that they come in contact with.
Okay, now here is an interesting question for you.
Okay.
You have a patient. You are a doctor. You do not have to worry about your silly laws. What would be more important? Saving an arm or a leg?
If I had a choice between the arm or the leg, I would say the leg. I would save the arm.
You do not sound sure.
No, because you have a wheelchair, and you can get around in a wheelchair. But as with an arm, well, that's a tough one. I think I'll change that. I'd say save the leg, because on an arm you can do everything that you want one arm, but you can't walk around one leg.
Okay, now, here is an even harder question.
Okay.
You are aboard your recon vessel. You have a crew of 5 under you. You are the captain. Your chief engineer is Marta. You have an engine problem that only one person with the knowledge can fix. But there is a radiation leak. What would you do?
I would send the person the knowledge and to fix it. Because the lives of the many are worth far more than the lives of the one.
Okay.
Last question. Where would you like to work?
You mean right now, as in my present third dimension?
No. Where would you like to work?
I'd love to work on fifth dimension. Work on Hades base.
Okay, thank you.
Phew. Okay.
Mark doesn't seem too worse the wear for that.
Sorry?
Mark doesn't seem too worse the wear for that.
What do you mean?
Energy wise. Take anything out of him?
No more than would be expected.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
Enjoy yourself?
Oh, yes.
I almost keep my panties.
You would.
You just walked in.
Ah. I can only guess who that was, but it was a pretty good guess.
Okay, let me hand you over to the next person.
Alright.
Greetings, Russ, and how are you functioning?
Doing very well, actually.
Considering.
Considering.
Okay, you have questions for me, I understand.
Yes. I got quite a few questions, as a matter of fact. We missed ourselves last time. We got on to go into a two-parter. In fact, I'll go from the stuff that I had, and then go to stuff that I have.
Okay.
That was a tough last question, too. Because I wanted to say Earth. Given a choice, I put it beyond space. Because there's not enough problems on Earth right now.
Okay, let's have your guess on who you thought you were talking to.
Sananda.
Correct.
Because Ashtar would have said, "Good evening, Mr. Hatfield." Sananda would have said, "Good evening, Russ."
Russell.
Right. And Corton and you would not. Well, you would have said it like that. That's why I said Omal at first. But when you start asking questions, it's easy to tell who it is. You don't ask questions.
Not very often, though.
Not very often, no. Well, good. I'm finally glad to meet the gentleman. A little bit anonymous. Okay, questions, here we go.
Okay.
Now, this is a two-parter right here. With year 2000 approaching, the gulf is widening between operates and non-operates. Now, is persecution a high probability?
Yes.
It is. Okay, because I was assuming that possibly the government and the National Enquirer made that kind of unlikely with the disbelief factor in there.
No, when it becomes accepted that there is, first of all, it will follow these simple patterns. Or, astonishment, confusion, misunderstanding, persecution.
Okay. Now, the second part of this is the Psychic Friends Network and the influx of metaphysical magazines has brought consciousness changes. And so a key to keeping the persecution from happening, hopefully, is acceptance and letting people see that you can be normal and psychic.
What do the average person think? Let me rephrase that, it's terrible grammar. What does the average person think about the Psychic Friends Network?
It's kind of a joke.
Yes. It is advertised as for entertainment purposes only.
But in my personal view, it seems like it's a doorway, at least, which
For some.
was none before.
Karra's comment about the natives is quite correct. They are restless tonight.
Well, Mark's hearing is more sensitive than mine is.
Yes, and we are hearing through amplified.
That would make a difference. Okay. Now, is there a way to shunt off the persecution factor in the future?
The more you delay it, the longer it will take to heal.
Okay. And do we have a estimated timeline for all this to happen?
No, not yet.
Okay.
As you might say, the votes are still out.
Okay. Now, I'm doing a little research lately on the various space missions that have gone up to the moon. And in Apollo 12, the one that followed the moon landing, a thunderbolt hit the spacecraft and put out a bunch of power systems. They had to reroute and click back on one by one.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to that, they had seen a couple of spaceships.
Mm-hmm.
And it's assumed that possibly the thunderbolt came from spaceships. If that is true, so I won't ask for confirmation, why would anybody take a hostile view to another moon?
If I answer this question, it will be confirmed.
Oh, you can't theoretically answer it.
No.
Okay.
I say, will be taken as possibly the correct answer, even though it is theorized.
Alright, well, skip that.
One does have to behave oneself when one's boss is around.
One's boss's boss. Understandable. Alright. Well, we'll go ahead and we'll cut off that pattern for a while. We'll go to something completely different. Now, you recall Michael, of course. So, okay. Now, being as that such, do you think that he has a chance of benefiting from the LS device that's going to be arriving? And if so, how to present it so that he gets the most benefit from it?
That's a tricky one. A mind that wants to be open but is shut and will not be shut until it is proved with hard and fast facts. Somebody that quests and is prepared to offer anything, but yet will not give anything. That is hard to answer. Yes, he would benefit from it if he would open his mind.
Would it help if Mary Jo learned how to use it first, so that he found then a reason to why he would want to benefit from it?
Possibly. It is necessary to pursue many avenues before coming to the correct one. Don't I sound like a poet?
Yes, you do. Well, I'll try to present it to him in a technical sense if I get that chance. See if he can be more responsive from a technical field of it. Alright, here's one. We'll see if we can back a little bit to where we were before, but hopefully not the same vein. The Palladian connection. Okay. Now, there is many points of view that the groups that are coming from the Palladians are of a friendly nature. Or they connect with Ashtar Command.
They are connected with Ashtar Command in the way that the Arturians were connected with Ashtar Command. As we are connected with other groups. We work in conjunction. It is a little bit like your group of nations that work together. Sometimes we disagree, sometimes we have different goals. But we are not an organised group such as your state of nations.
We are each independent groups with our own specific goals that we wish to achieve.
It does sound like our nation's whole thing.
The fact that we get together and try not to tread on each other's toes and try to second guess each other is a compliment to the evolving species that have joined us and that we have joined. We do have individuals from many different planets and solar systems that work independently between the various groups. It is necessary for them to work independently for the fact of their learning ability. That maybe the Pleiadians are better suited for one individual as we are better suited for another individual because we have different goals. Although there are goals that overlap, we try to work together, but we do not exchange information unless it is vital to the other groups that are involved, and vice versa.
That's a really good way of doing it. Well thought out. Okay, there is such a thing as a laser. But now, what would be the theoretical existence of what's called a maser?
A maser, I do not understand the word.
It's something that came up in a book that I'm reading, and I've never heard it before.
Is it a fictional book?
No, well, it's the same one I was talking to Kiri about the power rods from Atlantis and such. So
perhaps it originally had a different name. What does it look like?
It doesn't say. It just says the advent of lasers and masers in U.S. arsenals.
Maybe it has a name in front of it.
Well, I have to admit that, laser is short for light. So maser could possibly be matter, or
It is possible that it is some form of matter weapon,
or magnetic.
or particle.
Particle. That's possible too. Matter would be then particle.
Yes.
We can work on that later. Alright, now, the questions on adversarial elf beams. Yeah, extra low frequency. Could it conceivably trigger the San Andreas fault?
It depends on the resonance that is produced.
Okay.
You would have to penetrate deep to the weakest point where the most tension is. You couldn't trigger it in one point because there would be not enough pressure for it to be used with a minimal amount of energy.
I see. Well, it's said that such a beam was deflected, and the deflection caused it to set off Mount St. Helens eruption. Now, it's hard for me to picture this, but if it was the right frequency, I suppose there is a theoretical probability of such.
Yes, but it would have to be in an area where there is seismic activity or lack of activity, where there is a build-up in pressure underneath the crust of the planet, and where there is a build-up of magma. You see, all these things would have to be together for the elf waves to have their desired effect.
So theoretically that could happen if all the conditions were right,
We're right.
but the odds of it are low.
Yes.
Okay, that's something to think about. Alright, and could there be an ultra consciousness of Guardian working to achieve peace on this earth?
Yes. It is very likely and probable.
Oh, wait, we can talk about Sananda. On a theoretical basis, of course.
No, something else that I have in mind to explain. A group consciousness that has its own free will, that desires peace and harmony. But there is the other side to it.
The opposite end of the coin.
Yes.
So the two working would be like night and day.
You cannot have one without the other.
Why not? I mean, balance, obviously, but
Exactly.
it would seem it's pointless then to even have one if you have to have the other.
Well, the way that it works is that the group conscious desires peace, harmony. And the group conscious also doesn't want harmony. It wants chaos and confusion. The reason being, if you have peace and harmony, where do you go?
Sixth dimension.
No, you go nowhere. You do not learn. Everything is given to you. Everything is peaceful and relaxed. There is no drive.
Sounds great.
It is stagnant.
But man always wants to improve himself.
Exactly. That is the other side.
Oh, the drive.
The drive.
And that can't be peaceful and harmonious?
If it's peaceful and harmonious, what is the point of trying to achieve for better?
Oh, I see. Because you've already got it. What's the point of going further?
Correct.
You've reached nirvana, heaven.
Or that you see as that.
Right. That's deep.
You cannot have one without the other.
That's really deep.
So by having these two forces, call them night and day, right, the struggle between them, the friction that is generated creates the drive to improve, to stop one, to help the other.
So it's good, actually.
Yes, it is necessary.
That's the way of everything, even up on sixth dimension.
Correct.
And further.
And higher.
Okay. Now, before we get to part 2, how much time do you
How much time do you need?
have? I'm on to part 2, and part 2 is longer than part 1.
How much recording time do you have?
I've got 6 tapes sitting up there. If I had to go 6 tapes, I could.
Okay.
Okay.
I do not know if the body could take it,
I don't think so either.
or our last speaker has the patience.
Is he still there?
Samantha? No.
Okay.
But we do have a council meeting that I am due to attend in about 25 of your minutes.
Well, take this then.
Okay. Let's say, do you have 15 minutes of tape left?
Easy.
Okay.
Really.
Yes, I have to attend a meeting with other base commanders. We are hosting, you might call it an annual meeting, although it is every 10 years.
Oh, that's kind of nice. Alright. Now, first off, in something I was mentioning to Mark the other day, is that if you had an alien race and you wanted to place the perfect operative on a
Yes, breed them into the planet.
breed them into the planet so they would have citizenship and language and all that, and could work whatever you need to do, even unconsciously. What a perfect way to do it. And it's so hard to get out of Ashtar Command.
We have stated that before.
Indeed you have. Okay, I just thought it was funny to come up that way in this book that I was reading. Okay, on to part 2. First off, what subatomic particles are cosmic rays composed of?
Energy from other stars, and I believe we discussed this a while back, actually.
But we can break it down to particles as far as we have electrons and things like that, but do we go deeper than that?
It is not worth discussing the lower levels, but it is atoms and particles from many things. Supernovas that have exploded, the energy expelled by them, starships that have blown up, decaying stars that are falling to pieces because the gravitational field is no longer strong enough to hold them together. Many, many things.
Okay, so none of which would really come into being as far as... Actually, they would, but I'll get into it after I take care of building the power rod.
Okay.
We can start looking at it from a more practical point of view, this as far as the results of such a
Yes.
thing. Okay. Now, can you confirm whether subatomic particles can move backwards and forwards in time?
They can move forward in time as you move forward in time.
They can't move backwards.
No. You see, to travel backwards in time, what would be necessary is to take that, let's say, atom out of circulation, travel it backwards in time, and reinsert it. There's a slight problem here. If you take an atom, let's say, that is floating around there, and you take it back 1,000 years, and you reinsert it into time, what happens?
You have one more atom than you're supposed to have for that particular time.
Which can't occur.
Right. Because all matter from that 1,000 years ago is still here in this 1,000 year prior later on.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't increase the matter without causing a chain reaction.
Correct. So what you'd have to do is take one particle from 1,000 years ago, one atom from 1,000 years ago, move it forward in time to now, take one out and bring it down. You can't do that. You can't do that because the very atoms that make up your travelling device. So instead of having one atom, you have many billions. Can't do it.
So in other words, that's the second question, which is it could be two places at the same time.
No. But there is an interesting little catch here. You can travel backwards in time. Yes. To a different dimension. Not dimension, universe. Parallel universe.
Because they wouldn't have the same
Exactly.
matter in that one as you would be inserting into it.
Correct.
But that only do you any good if you wanted to see another dimension.
Don't forget, some are so similar to yours that there is no difference whatsoever except for maybe a slight difference in pigmentation of skin.
That's true.
And that may be so unnoticeable that you wouldn't notice.
So it might be handy so you look at the past, what happened,
Mm-hmm.
but it might not be the past.
Correct.
It might be slightly different.
Yes.
Okay.
It might be the fact that General Ulysses S. Grant was not called Ulysses, is it Simpson? Well, let's say he was called Simpson. Ulysses Simpson Grant may have been called Ulysses Simon Grant.
Oh, I see.
Or Simpson spelled differently.
But it still could make a difference. You wouldn't get the true historical facts.
Oh, yes, you would. It would be almost identical apart from maybe slight difference in spellings of places. Gettysburg might be Gettysburg. So trivial.
Interesting, though.
Or Gettysburg might be 4 inches off from where the centre of the town is.
Good point. Okay. Now, can you take... There is such a thing then as mental control of subatomic particles.
No, not really.
So if I have a thought beam, or a thought I wish to project through, let's say, this power rod I was discussing with Kiri, wouldn't I then be affecting the subatomic particles?
No, you'd be just borrowing their energy.
Oh. And so what would be powering my thought? Those subatomic particles?
Yes, and you.
And me. Oh, so it'd be my energy and theirs, and it'd be amplified.
Yes.
Okay. Now, in a related question to that, can you speed up or slow down time, the results of it, since time is relative? In other words, if I wish to, let's say, get a nickel, okay, now, my abilities to do so, would it be sped up if I had better abilities, so I'd get it in 5 minutes, or if my abilities weren't that good, I'd get it in 5 weeks?
It is easy to speed up and slow down time, or appear to. You can be watching something on your communication and entertainment devices, right? And you do not notice that an hour has elapsed.
Yeah, definitely.
Or you could be watching something and looking at your watch and going, I wish this was over. I wish I could get up out of this theatre and attend to my customers that will be wanting to go into the next performance.
Absolutely. So it's all relative to your perception of time.
Yes.
Time, it doesn't actually speed up or slow down.
I must give credit where credit's due to Karra.
She knows my mind very well. Okay, so it's perception of time that you speed up or slow down. Time actually doesn't speed up or slow down.
Time is not a constant. It can be bent, it can be slowed down and sped up, but by artificial means or natural means.
Well, I mean, just because I'm watching this movie and I'm bored and time is going forever,
that is
somebody
your
else
perception.
in the theater who's loving the movie, time's flying by for them.
Yes.
But we're all experiencing the same time.
Right. But time is not linear.
It's not.
No. There are several ways to speed up time. And that is using gravitational masses.
Oh, so that's beyond our control now.
Yes.
I see. But it's possible in our future. Okay. Next question is, did you and ourselves and everyone that I and you know create most of the known universe?
Sorry, can't go into that.
Okay.
Because two things. It would be my opinion. It would open it to discussion which would be tinted with my emotions or your emotions. It would be subjective from our point of view.
I see.
Okay. It would take up more time than I have.
That's a key question.
Yes. Save that one for a later time when we can sit down and have a discussion on probabilities and theorize.
Alrighty, I'll be glad to. Okay. Now then, and I'm speaking here from theoretically knowing how the council sometimes works. And being as you're a part of the council, maybe you can answer this. Now, being as the council hates leaving jobs unfinished or half finished, I'm assuming that I'm then helping to complete a mission that was begun long ago.
Yes. Time is irrelevant when you have all the time that you need.
Indeed. Again, we are stretching the time even as you're slowing
Yes.
down.
Travelling forward in time is quite simple. You just travel faster than the speed of light. Space warps.
So that really is true. It's not fiction. It's something science
No.
fiction.
No. Going back to a incident over a year ago where Kiri took a trip.
Right.
She used the jump between dimensions to gain time.
Really? That goes back, though, to the question of how to not go back in time. Do we have the same problem going forward in time? You're
No.
putting a new mass.
You're
into
taking
a
them out of
future.
circulation, take them out,
Yeah.
and moving them forward.
Yeah, but then
There
you're
is a
adding
period
more.
of time where they do not exist.
So that mass doesn't exist already, even though it's in the future, because it's uncreated, of course. You can
Correct.
insert anything you want because that mass is not there yet.
That is why Kiri couldn't go back to the 6th dimension until after she had given birth.
I see, 'cause she's already there.
Correct.
That's
But now she can, of
That's
course.
pretty funny.
This has been about a year since she's been able to travel backwards and forwards in that dimension.
That's a cute way of putting it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now, in using clusters of crystals at the compass points, will it enhance the current shield around the house, if it's still there? Or should they be set at the points of the pyramid?
I don't worry too much about the energy field around your house.
Okay, it doesn't need to be enhanced.
No.
Okay, I won't bother with that.
You can pass through it, radio waves can pass through it, but if we wanted, nothing could pass through it. And all it would take is a twist of the wrist.
But for other people, would this theoretically working on your crystal shield
Mm-hmm.
for somebody's house who doesn't have the benefit of ours,
Yes.
it would help for them
Mm-hmm. Just taking the same
if
place.
they had the mind power to help create.
Correct. But it would only operate whilst they were in the premises.
Well, that might be enough for it.
A feeling of comfort.
Okay.
Why does Kiri need this?
Well, this is just a theoretical for anybody who might come across it. Might be. It's just general knowledge. Okay. Now, carrying the double terminated crystal around, would that enhance my personal shield?
If you believe that it will supply the energy. If you do not believe, then it will not.
Good point, because thoughts empower
Correct.
the crystal. Okay. Now, would nuclear or particle weapons, if used on Earth, set off a chain reaction between us and other planets in our solar system, and if so, why?
Only if there are hostile forces on those planets.
Oh. Okay. According to the book, of course, that I read, which apparently if we use nuclear weapons and we blew up our planet, it would cause a chain reaction. Each planet in the solar system would just blow up right down the line.
You blow up your planet, the debris stays in orbit on your planet, in your plane.
We become another basic asteroid belt
Yes.
for somebody else farther down the road to figure out why there's a second asteroid belt out there between Mars and Mercury.
Mm-hmm.
Mars and Venus. Mars and Venus, right? Okay. In fact, I'll make this my last question. Thought can trigger subatomic particles to attract desired items like a magnet. Would this be similar to working with manifestation?
No, not really. What happens with particles as they pass magnet is they get X-like. Sometimes it is so minimal that it is only recognizable after they have travelled 1,000,000 light years. And then it is only a fraction of a degree.
Black hole or something.
Yes,
Yes.
gravitational masses do have that effect. Depends on the size of the mass of the gravitational effect.
Oh, I understand. So our basic thoughts are like, can be in that way, but just it depends on how you use them.
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, enjoy the council meeting.
If you call that sort of thing fun, I will enjoy it.
I would. I'd have a great time.
But I've never been to one except for that one.
Live long, prosper, and hopefully I'll be back.
Okay.
Carol told me not to do that.
Cool. How's the food?
Feels hot.
That could be good.
Could be bad. Never mind.
Maybe it fixed tomorrow.
What a session. Yeah.
I had to go and change.
One VR. How's Mark's energy level?
I should say it's probably down to about 35%.
2 more to go.
2 more to go? Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, my dear. Working with animals and insects.
Incest?
Insects.
Oh, okay.
The new Atlanteans. Those who have the energy within themselves to walk among nature at peace with all around them. Animals and insects, like birds land on their shoulders and animals come up and get guzzled or something like this. Are there such people in this world?
Mm-hmm.
How do you become such a person?
By generating the right smell. By being so totally unconcerned with animals that it doesn't matter. By being able to communicate with feeling of love for all animals. Well, I don't see any felines around here.
None. What? Unusual. Wait, yeah, there is one.
Which one's that?
Look at Oddball under the chair over there.
Ooh, negative cat, negative cat. I'm gonna pounce on you, pussy cat.
Now, in training to do this, you have to have the right mind frame.
Mm-hmm.
And to achieve the right mind frame, does it take years of practice? Or
Yes.
It does take years of practice.
Years and years and years and years and years.
Best
Years.
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 Best to start with just your regular cats and animals and
Yeah.
insects around you. Work up from there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a matter of coercion, it's just a matter of energy.
Coercion does help, I suppose. But I don't know because I don't have any coercion.
I don't know about that.
It's because I'm strong-willed. And besides, they don't have coercive capabilities, but not worth mentioning anyway. Well, they've got those inherited from Mark. Yeah, we use that as a threat of punishment. Split them up. I hate it. They behave themselves afterwards.
That's good. Hey, by the way, any projections have you heard from on the genetic base now that Moreni's been added into our little subgroup?
I haven't been informed yet. Besides, she's too young to have kittens.
Well, so is yours.
Yeah, I know.
Well, it doesn't mean it's not a future possibility.
Ooh, there are many, many probabilities. The future's always in motion.
How can I become more sensitive to the energy emanations of crystals?
Open your mind. Feel one. Pick one up. Be its buddy.
You grab one here, I bet
Smile at it. Feel its energy. Feel its weight. Feel its being. Feel how it warms your hand. Feel its sides. Get to know it.
How do you get inside it?
You don't want to because they don't appear. They appear as they want to appear if you're inside them. So I've been told.
Okay, well that's all I have for questions, so we can talk about General Joe.
Okay. What do you want to talk about?
Let's see now. What you been doing lately? You hunting?
No, I haven't had time. Don't forget I had a tribe of kittens and cubs over at my place.
That's true.
Running amok, breaking one of my vases.
Well, thank you. How come they close to the PK out of the way?
Because the kittens were outside pulling the wings off a butterfly.
Jeez. Well, they chained them well, I guess.
That was alright. Alex just came out and manifested the wings back on.
I like the boxing glove and stuff.
Mm-hmm. He's going to be a little peacemaker, you know.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But she was being very, how would you call it? This. I am. My idea.
All don't girls go through that stage?
Mm-hmm. Of a little miss.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's just part of growing up.
What did she say? I'm big girl now. Well, she is the oldest.
Yeah, she's the oldest. She must feel like, she's look at her mom is.
Yeah. What's it? She's 2.5 now, I think.
Yeah. Alright, darling, what do you want to talk about then? I'll leave it up to you. Since I keep running the little stone walls here.
No, I try hard not to, but you keep on picking on things that I can't discuss.
Oh, that's why I'm just going through general stuff.
Okay. What we might have to do for your astral travel tank
Okay.
is break it up into sections instead of doing it all in one go. Do it over a period of time. So that we get it all nice, prim, proper, step by step.
Well, you know that I'll be using it in conjunction.
With other things, yes.
So I can use it on one side, stop it,
Mm-hmm.
and go on to that same side later on and add on to it. So that's
Yeah, but when you're recording it, you'd have to probably record on, record the information I give you, take it out, put it to one side, insert it back in, so that there isn't any gap. What might be useful is background music too. Something like ambient. Something nice and dreamlike and floaty and
I use that Great Pyramid stuff.
drifting off into the wide blue yonder.
Great Pyramid music.
See, I'm a smart kitty. Uh-huh.
Cool.
Sorry. Yeah, same thing.
Okay.
Yeah, hold on, I've got to put her down before she wriggles off, causes trouble, starts crying, and you have that recorded instead of her just track.
That should be fun.
Over. Tape connection.
Okay. God, there's a ton of tape.
Why?
I don't know. I thought it took a long time to get them all.
Well, Kiri's still here. You got any questions for Kiri? He's messing with the kittens. Cubs.
Well, I got 5 minutes of tape left.
Oh well.
Let's go save it for later or something.
Nah, let's use it all up.
Okay, sounds good.
Why didn't you... If you guys got a little garden area at the back of your place?
Yeah.
But it's open to the public, isn't it?
The public want to go back to this place.
Yeah. I was about to say you could make a pyramid. Maybe you could fence it. No, that wouldn't be acceptable either, would it?
We put a pyramid like what you got.
Yeah.
What we could do, we could put one similar to what we got here, only in a bigger form.
Mm-hmm. Oh, ours is twice the size of this one.
We could do it twice the size. The trick is, it's gonna have to be wooded.
No. Ours is though. We've got a thing that pulls up over the top of it.
I'll tell you what, can you relay a question to Kiri for me?
I can do better than that. I can put it back in.
Alright, toss it back in for Kiri. Okay.
Yo.
Question just came up that I just got reminded of that I thought I could ask you.
Uh-huh.
Remember the picture I showed you, that image rod, right?
Uh-huh.
What if you were actually to put one on the crown of that pyramid facing up?
It would look ugly. It's a bit like a conducting rod.
Right. What would be the results of such a leaf? I don't care about looks. Results.
It'd be worth experimenting with.
So instead of capping it,
Mm-hmm.
just go ahead and leave it uncapped
Yeah.
and fasten it to the top so it point up with the crystal point up to the top.
Yeah.
Well,
We can make something a little bit like
okay, what if you were
4
to point
prongs.
it down instead?
It'll be sending the energy down.
Right. So the energy would go up the sides,
Mm-hmm.
collect at the point, go in through two.
It depends
come
what
back-
function you want to use it for.
Well, that's the question. What would be the results, theoretically, of such a thing pointed downward?
Not as beneficial as pointing up.
What?
Because pointing up, you can use it for many things. You can use it as a beacon, you can use it to send energy out, you can use it in the astral form, right? To go up, focus the energy, to fire it off, and then to grab hold of that energy and go.
Because it'd be a constant stream.
Yeah!
Fire up to it like a booster rocket.
Mhm. Or if you're quick enough, you can actually sit on top of it instead of holding on to it. Which means that you expel any energy whatsoever.
But the energy's constantly going.
Mm-hmm.
All you can do is enter the stream, right?
Yeah.
And let the stream push you.
Mm-hmm. But don't forget to put on your leather hat and goggles. And your oxygen mask.
I'm ready for takeoff. That's affirmative.
Sorry, I did not quite understand that.
Get your hand over your face.
Why are you making silly noises?
Okay. So, in a sense, keeping that cap as removable instead of gluing it on might be a good idea.
Yeah.
Just for the purpose of testing stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
Work.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Don't you think that was a fun little session?
That was a fun session, especially like part of Sananda.
Yeah, he isn't as loud as Ashtar. He's much more peaceable and
Quiet.
Well, that's what kind of surprised me.
And not as abrupt.
I was expecting somebody even more like Ashtar. Instead, it sounded more like Omal.
Mm.
I mean, that's what happens when you get into the real higher dimensions.
Yeah. And he just walked in nice and casually and sat down to your almost wetter panties.
That would be funny to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can tell that Sananda is definitely somebody who is always in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Never,
Knows exactly what's going on from second to second to second.
yeah, his mind is not elsewhere when he's speaking.
Oh, you'd be surprised.
That's true. I suppose you could be in 3, 4, 5 different places at once.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Wouldn't surprise me if he was.
Okay, well, very impressive people, I have to admit.
Mm-hmm. Very well mannered. I've never met him before until that point.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you did. Oh, I guess you didn't.
No, it's just.
I was thinking of that one party where you jumped in the pool.
No, he wasn't there.
Oh, okay.
That was a purely serial function, and I wish he hadn't told you.
How do you like my joke, though?
Which joke?